Archit Reads and Travels. You're right, I'm not Archit, I'm Nancy, and this video is a continuation of this series of videos that we are doing where we are talking about each of the novels that have been shortlisted for the Booker this year. So I'm going to talk about Real Life, which is written by Brandon Taylor, which is also the author's debut novel, and it is actually an excellently crafted piece of work. Now, till today in the history of Booker, only 3 debut novels have gone on to win the Booker. The Bone People, The God of Small Things, and Lincoln in the Bardo. And I would say that considering the socio-political movements against racism that have been happening around the world, and the sheer brilliance of the book, the sheer, the timing of this book, Brandon Taylor actually might just be the winner for this year. Now, this story which is actually just spread over a weekend. Actually, it tells us the story of a biotechnology graduate student. Our protagonist, Wallace, is a black queer man who's actually a man of very few words but a very sharp gaze. In fact, many commentators and reviewers have argued that the novel, this book, Real Life, is indeed autobiographical in nature, as Taylor himself was a graduate student at an American university where he was studying the sciences, though he quit his degree and he, just went off to start writing. Autobiographical or not, the experiences that are discussed in this book, they carry a very nuanced sensitivity about the visible and not so visible racism that is very prevalent in universities across America and dare I say even Europe. Now, a very important theme that the story explores is a response to loss. When Wallace mentions his father's death to a friend, she ends up crying and kissing him on the lips. While Wallace actually, is left reflecting on the absence of the sorrow, the grief, the mourning that everyone expects him to feel. And he realizes that many of his friends are even volunteering, to feel this grief on his behalf. Even when it comes to his volatile, rather violent relationship with a straight man, a straight friend, Wallace seems to struggle with his expression, his articulation, and maybe even his understanding of being with someone who does not, or who probably will never desire him in the same way that that he desires them. Now, there were many moments for me in the novel, but what actually intrigued me the most was the cool that Wallace seems to keep, or maybe even just project, when he is faced with the racism shrouded as care. Wallace's response to this sort of care is mostly silence. He notices that none of his friends or colleagues interject or point out or speak against these incidents of casual racism towards him, but he's somehow able to justify his own silence through this is how it is kind of an attitude towards casual racism. So Taylor uses very powerful language and metaphors. He uses an array actually of troubling analogies like rotting vegetation, broken bodies, and decaying words to create a language in which Wallace is able to remember, recollect, recount an experience of sexual abuse at a rather tender age. This part of the novel also, crucially is at the same time actually also depicting the inability of language as a structure to capture everything that the body goes through, witnesses, endures, and remembers. I also felt that writers like Taylor and Dangarembwa are actually doing an exceptional job of weaving, a semantic and a symbolic world where unspeakable acts of violence are rendered speech. And this speech is actually the most sensitive and the most sensible speech that one can have about these things. One thing that kind of exhausted me in the novel was Wallace's blindness towards discrimination faced by others around him. For example, when his Chinese American friend, she goes on to talk about her own struggles as a person of color and as a woman in the labs in the university. Wallace remains speechless. I thought it was his "Dunya mein kitna gum hai, mera gum kitna kam hai" moment. I hoped that it was this moment for him, but I'm not very sure if it was that sort of moment for him. But I think in creating a character like this, the writer is probably teaching us, the readers, also how to look within us, how to look outside, but more importantly, how to look beyond, how to totally look beyond our own personal castles of hell. Really, really wonderful for me as a reader, and I really hope that Brandon Taylor becomes the fourth person whose debut novel goes to win the Booker. I mean, I loved This Mournable Body also quite a lot, and the trilogy as a whole. But I thought that Real Life was something very. It is so precise that it's like really, really sharp, and it really hits one as a reader. So yeah, I hope you read it. There's a PDF and an EPUB available on LibGen, so go get it if you don't, if you're like me, a person who has no money really to buy books.
However, if you have the money, I would strongly recommend that you buy this novel. It's one of the best novels published this year and it truly deserves the Booker Prize. So, if you're looking forward to buying one book from the Booker shortlist, I would recommend this one. And so would Nancy. Please go and get a copy of this one.
Next time we will be talking about The Shadow King by Manza Manjiste, which, oh god, it is a really exciting one. I'm reading it right now, and oh, it's just keeping me on my tips, like my fingertips and my. It's very exciting. So yeah, we will talk about that, and please subscribe to Archit's channel. He talks really well, as you all know. Okay, bye. See you.